Going to start with Resolv Advanced Allocations. What Resolv Advanced Allocations does is it allows us to be able to create pick lists inside of SAP Business One by using rules that can be based off of an event like a add or an update of a sales order, or you can also have it be based off of a query. So that you can create any kind of logic you want. So if we wanted to make sure that e-commerce orders or Amazon orders first because they're more timely, or we have priority for being able to pick based off of vehicle routing, which we can get into later, all of those kinds of things could be rules that we would use. So let's start by taking a look at the rules here in Advanced Allocations. And in the Advanced Allocations, you'll see you have the ability to come in here and to create as many different rules as you'd like. And so here you can see I have, for example, that I want to be able to do a wave pick. If I am, for example, an e-commerce solution that allows me to have many orders for the same product, it might be efficient for me to go pick that item all at once for all the different customers that are getting it. However, you can have other rules, such as being able to go pick any of the New York City or Long Island, orders together because we might load them onto a truck, have, local pickup. We could also have a flash sale where we want to be able to get everything that was sold in a flash sale picked together. So these are just some of the different examples that we'll be able to take a look at. But let's start by looking at this one here for key customer sales orders. So this one here for key customer sales orders is based off of a query. And the way that works is that we're able to write a query using the standard SQL or HANA query manager to be able to identify which orders we wanted to be able to include. So if I drill into the details here, you can see I can either have the query be a saved query inside of SAP, which allows me just to choose the dropdown from the query manager, or I can write the query directly in here. And this query can basically have anything that you want included in it. But if we take a look here, you can see this is our where clause, and it's basically just helping us be able to identify the rules that are going to make this particular sales order qualify. So first, we're saying that the order does have to be approved. We want the order to be open, and that in this particular case, we also want to allow partial shipment. And then the final piece, the piece that's making it for key customers, is in this case, we're saying that if property number 64 on the business partner is yes, or checked yes, that's what's going to indicate that it's a key customer. But this really could have been any rule or logic that you wanted to be able to use. So it could be a user-defined field, a different field on it. Ultimately, when we hit preview, we'll see a list of results. So these are the orders that are outstanding right now that meet that criteria. And then these would be the ones that are going to be included in the pick release. Once we've identified which order should be included in the rule, the next thing that's going to wind up happening is specifying what will happen to actually generate the pick list. In SAP Business One, when you're running through the pick, pack, and production manager, you have a series of selections that will help you decide how you're going to group those pick lists. And so this is designed to replace the need to run through the pick, pack, and production manager. So we want to make sure that we offer those same rules, as well as some additional rules to be able to be flexible in choosing what will happen. So in this particular case, right now I'm releasing all fulfillable lines, which means that we'll automatically back order anything that isn't available to be filled right now and ship whatever we can. However, there might be situations where a business wants to make sure, in order to minimize shipping costs, for example, that we only ship if the entire document is 100% fulfillable. So if there's an order that's got many items and many units, we want to make sure they all ship together. So I can do that by releasing either if the document is entirely fulfillable or that the row is entirely fulfillable. We also do offer something called consolidation. Consolidation allows us to be able to take existing inventory, items that are coming off of a make-to-order type scenario, like a production order, or things that are being special ordered into stock, and we can consolidate them into the warehouse so that once all of the different pieces are available, some of the stuff that we pick from stock, special order comes in, the system knows that everything's been pre-consolidated and then is going to allow us to pick directly from there. Beyond that, what's going to wind up happening is you're going to be able to choose where in the warehouse that you want to pick from. These are filters. It allows us to leave it empty, which means that we'll follow the rules that are coming up on the next tabs to be able to determine automatically where I should pick from. But if I was creating a scenario where for key customers, I wanted to pick from a specific area, maybe I wanted to always pick from a high security area, I could go into the caged area and say that I'm only going to pick from the caged area. Or again, if I had specific zones or something else along those lines that I want to override. This will limit the list of bins in the warehouse that we're going to pick for in this particular rule. keeping in mind that a different rule might have a different area in the warehouse that we're going to pick from. You can also use advanced rules, and these kind of work like advanced GL determinations do for financials, where it gives us the ability to create additional rules that override the base rules. So for example, in this particular case, I could say if the item is in a particular unit of measure group, I want to, use a different location. Another one is to use the bins unit of measures. So inside of SAP Business One, we can store at the bin level whether or not the same item is being stored in, let's say, eaches or cases or even pallets. And therefore, we have the ability for the system to automatically break out a pick list to go pick based on full case or full pallet quantities as well as eaches. So an example would be if something came in cases of 24 and the order asked for 50 of them, the system would be able to say, okay, we know that we're going to be able to do 2 cases of 24, so we'll go get 48 units from the case bin location, as well as going to pick the remainder 2 eaches from the each bin location. And so again, the system will automatically split that pick list up into the different allocations based off of, again, being able to pick your zones throughout that warehouse. So we can do it either based off of the documents unit of measure, or we can actually allow it to just automatically use all available sales unit of measures, or we could force it again to just use only the inventory or the sales unit of measure. The next thing that happens is when we generate the pick lists, we're going to specify how many pick lists we want. So I can group all pick lists together by customer. So like a business partner. If I want to go individual by document, I can do that as well. Common examples would be to actually group by either item or item group for wave picking. This is that example where I want to take many orders from many different customers and group them together on the same pick list so that I get efficient processing in the warehouse. I walk to that bin location once and I'm able to pick many orders at the same time. Another example of that is also sometimes called zone or aisle picking, where I want to be able to keep my picker within a certain subsection of the warehouse so they only pick the items that are in their location. Again, even if it's multiple orders. So you can come in here and choose how you want to be able to pick. Of course, you can group so that I can say I want to group by multiple different things. So I want to group just by document type and by zone. That way, orders that are sales orders that are going to ship to customers would be picked separately from inventory transfers that might be going out to your stores or a distribution center or something else along those lines if you're doing a essential fulfillment and not just shipping out to your retail customers. For the advanced allocations, the automatic allocations, again, we can choose to honor the warehouse settings inside of SAP Business One, or for this rule, override it to allow us to be able to use any of the other rules, including last in, first out, so oldest inventory out first, or first in, first out. Newest inventory first, or oldest inventory first, first in, first out. Again, being able to do the ascending quantity single bin preferred is always a popular one because it allows us to be able to use the most efficient use of our space by trying to empty out our space, but it also makes us that we're not going and having to do multiple picks in different bins because it's trying to keep everything in a single bin. Besides that, you also will get the ability to write your own custom rules. And so these custom rules, and you can see it becomes a drop-down box here, these are also going to be based off of a formula. And if we look at the custom rules formula, you'll see in here that we have the ability to write our own custom rule. Again, it could just be a query like here we have for Walmart. So these might be items that are pre-labeled or pre-packaged for Walmart, and it's allowing me to be able to take in any of these inputs like who's the customer, who's the user that entered the order, what warehouse or products they are, and then from there being able to choose the bins, and then the results are allowed to be able to systematically write into the pick lists to make sure we go pick from those locations. Finally, in the pick list details, we're going to be able to specify when we should pick. So the most common would be to use the demand date. So when the sales order is due to pick, we can, of course, use a query to be able to come up with our own pick date. So if we want to be able to say orders that are scheduled to ship in the next 2 days or something else along those lines, we could use a query to be able to determine the date. And then the same thing, we could just use the actual system date. Who should be the picker? So this we can assign a specific picker. So for instance, if I wanted to always be the picker, I can come in here and identify myself as the specific user. If I leave it open, I have the ability to do a round robin where the system can automatically assign the pick list to the picker that's got the least number of documents or the least number of items to pick or the least number of units to pick. And so you can kind of choose this or again, you could use a query to be able to choose it. And what's nice about this is if I'm trying to make sure that I'm load balancing my pickers and saying that I want to, get basically an equal number of picks to my different pickers, I can still use roles or team filters. So I can come in here, for example, and say that this particular product is going to only, need things that are in the high-low team, or or the specialty team, or only people who are actually warehouse managers are going to be able to pick these orders. So you can come in here and use either of these as additional filters to create a subset of the pickers in your team to be considered for the automatic assignment. The picker is usually going to just match the user, so the person who's responsible for doing the picker is what's going to get filled in here. Again, you can override that. But what's also really nice is the ability to put in special remarks. So this supplements the SAP Business One pick pack remarks. Those will go onto the pick list as well. But we also add the ability to make special remarks, such as a high priority, in this case, pick for tomorrow morning's delivery in Long Island. And then again, we have the ability to, if we leave this empty, to pull in the demand documents, pick and pack remarks, and or the query fields. So again, what winds up happening is you use the combination of either the event, like a transaction, or the query to determine which orders are going to qualify. The pick action is used to determine which rules will be processed and how the picks will be generated. So the last piece is just going to be the scheduler. And as you can see, you have the ability to come in here and create as many schedules as you want. The scheduling is really flexible. So for instance, I could be checking for Amazon every 2 hours to make sure that we're releasing all of my Amazon orders or all of my Walmart orders or something else along those lines. And so you can set your reoccurrence to be based on hours or minutes. You can also come in and have certain other things where maybe we want to do transfers between warehouses, and we do that weekly on, Tuesdays and Fridays or something else along those lines. So you have the ability to come in here and to be flexible with how you're going to schedule your rules and when they execute. Now, this is going to automatically process all the different rules and create those pick lists, but we can actually see the result set down here as well. So if we look into the advanced allocations, this is going to give us the ability to see the history of everything that's run. So I can see everything that has errors or completed. To the pick ticket manager, the pick ticket manager also allows us to manually process or see things while we're maybe in between waiting. So if I had a hot order that I wanted to be able to get, or if I just had a manual rule that I wanted to be able to come in and process, I can come in here and find anything that is going to meet that criteria. So for example, let's say I want to release those key orders and I don't want to wait for the next schedule because it's going to take some time. I have the ability to come in here and to change the dates that I want to process through and then be able to come in here and search. This will find any of the orders that meet that criteria. So as a whole, again, just kind of recapping what the benefits are for a company to use advanced allocations. It allows us to be more efficient in generating our pick lists. Again, pick lists can be generated for inventory transfers. They can be generated for production orders in terms of getting the raw materials. They can be generated for sales orders and reserve invoices for being able to ship to the customer. But it's more efficient because it allows us to be able to create consistent rules. Those rules can be run for us automatically. And it allows us to be able to segment and create pre-planned routes through our warehouse to allocate the pick tickets to our pickers in an efficient way to be able to enable things like paperless picking and a full wireless warehouse process.